Elsa and Moana are two very different characters, but they've got something in common that other Disney princesses don't. Watch until the end to find out which princess would be the last one standing.
You are the future of our people, Moana.
Now let's find out if Moana has what it takes to defeat the Ice Queen. Elsa's powers. If there's one royal we can't get enough of, it's the Queen of Arendelle. But as many of you know, Elsa isn't your average Disney princess, and this has everything to do with her special powers. Elsa spent most of her life thinking that she was a freak, only to realize that she was unique. It's no secret that Elsa lacks control when it comes to her powers, which is why many of us wouldn't dare challenge her to a duel. So we all know that Elsa has icy powers, but what else can she do? What makes Elsa's powers so special is the fact that she can produce ice and snow at an alarming speed. In fact, the young queen can build an entire ice castle in a few seconds without even breaking a sweat. And believe it or not, Elsa's powers continue to grow every single year. So in other words, the older she gets, the more powerful she becomes. She can cause a blizzard to manifest itself in the middle of summer, making it hard for her enemies to see what's right in front of them. Worse than that is Elsa's ability to create a timeless state of winter. So basically, the Ice Queen could prevent the world from seeing anything but snow if she wanted to.
I never knew what I was capable of.
But before we jump to conclusions, let's find out what the extent of Moana's powers are. Moana's powers. At first glance, Moana's powers might pale in comparison to Elsa's. But by now, we should know that Moana's not your average girl, and she tends to get the job done.
We're okay, Pua. I can do this.
Moana is built for combat, especially since she grew up on an island and had to learn how to use her body to her advantage. Her athleticism is beyond expressive, but is that all it takes to wipe out an Ice Queen? We highly doubt it. Luckily for Moana, her powers don't stop here. On top of being a master sailor, the islander also has a deep connection with the ocean, meaning it's been known to bail her out of tough situations. Without Moana's bravery, the world would have begun to rot from the inside out, and life as we know it would come to an abrupt halt. Knowing this, the ocean values Moana above all and has even parted itself in half to let her walk through it. So the question is, would the ocean be able to take on Elsa? Or would she turn it into an ice rink before it got the chance to defend its chosen one? For now, it looks like it's anybody's game. But one crucial piece of the puzzle could tip the scales in Moana's direction. Elsa's sidekicks. Where would any Disney princesses be without their faithful sidekicks? Nowhere, right? Most Disney princesses have trouble making friends of their own, which is why they tend to turn a curious eye to pets and mystical creatures alike. Elsa spent most of her life cooped up in her room out of fear, only to come face to face with a joyful snowman named Olaf.
Hi everyone, I'm Olaf, and I like warm hugs.
Now, Olaf might be as cute as a button, but he isn't exactly who you'd want on your side when preparing for battle. Olaf's powers consist of coming undone and putting himself back together, which isn't very useful if you ask us. However, if Moana's weakness is a warm hug, then she's in a lot of trouble. Luckily for Elsa, she's got a village of trolls on her side, and they've proven themselves to be pretty useful. The trolls we see in Frozen are master healers who can transform themselves into rocks whenever they choose, which could complicate Moana's attack plans should she choose to sail the stormy seas. All in all, Elsa's abilities are so powerful that she hardly needs to have allies by her side. However, there is strength in numbers, which is why Elsa isn't about to turn down help anytime soon. Moana's sidekicks. Moana might be as tough as nails, but her two sidekicks are as weak as they come.
I'm sure there's more to Hey Hey than meets the eye.
Sure, Pua and Hey Hey might be adorable, but they can barely defend themselves when push comes to shove. In fact, Moana spends most of her time rescuing them, so much so that she chose to leave them on Motunui instead of bringing them with her on her journey. But things didn't exactly go as planned for the princess, so basically Pua and Hey Hey are as useless as can be when it comes to going to war. But Moana isn't exactly helpless without them, because she's got the best sidekick of all, and his name is Maui.
You know, Maui is the hero to all. You're doing great.
Although he'd probably object to being called her sidekick, he's someone who will come to her rescue no matter what the stakes are. Elsa might have powerful abilities, but she's no demigod. Maui has the ability to shapeshift at will, which can come in handy when fighting against an icy foe. On top of that, he's got the strength of 1,000 men, which can make it hard to fight him off if he somehow manages to get close. So when it comes to beating Elsa, it's safe to say that Moana's got the most powerful weapon of all time. Elsa's weaknesses. weaknesses. You would think that Elsa had a list of weaknesses, but the princess is pretty much unbeatable. However, that didn't stop Hans from kidnapping and imprisoning her. Elsa's powers might be the real deal, but they also have a lot of energy to manifest. So when under an alarming amount of pressure, the Queen of Arendelle ended up fainting, only to be awakened in shackles. Knowing that their daughter was special, King Agnar and Queen Iduna built a pair of metal restraints for their daughter. However, they desperately wished that they'd never have to use them. This mechanism caused Elsa's hands to be submerged in metal, which prevented her wintry magics from seeping through. But if there's one thing that Hans should have realized, it's that Elsa's powers don't only emanate from her fingertips, but from thin air as well. So basically, you can capture her, but you can't prevent her from letting it snow. Moana's best bet would be to exhaust Elsa's power source and then imprison her, but how long could she really keep her in chains for? All in all, Elsa's #1 weakness is her love for her sister Anna. So, at the end of the day, Elsa's powers are useless if her little sister is being held hostage. Moana's weaknesses. Moana isn't one to back down when faced with a challenge, which is something to be admired. However, there are times in life when running for the hills is the only option we have. When it comes to weaknesses, Moana is no different than any of us. While it's true that she can hold her breath underwater for long periods of time, this isn't exactly going to come in handy when faced with an icy-wielding enemy. Moana has spent her entire life on an island, and she's used to tropical weather and blue skies, so if Elsa were to turn her world into a winter wonderland, the princess wouldn't know how to handle the temperatures. When it comes to weaknesses, Moana is clearly barking up the wrong tree because she's not a mutant like Elsa is. However, Moana and Elsa do have something in common, which is putting others first. So if Elsa were to turn Motunui into an ice rink, Moana would have no choice but to forfeit to save her people. Before we reveal which Disney character would be the last princess standing, let's put some different scenarios under the scope. How Elsa would win. Many of us think that Elsa has the upper hand on every single plane, but that isn't exactly true. Sure, she's pretty much unstoppable, but there are ways to back her into a corner. Moana might not be as powerful as her enemy, but weaker fighters tend to use their brains instead of their abilities. The worst thing that Moana could do is distance herself from the ocean, which is why she would lose against Elsa on the solid ground. So if Moana were to travel to Arendelle to kick some royal butt, she would probably end up in the dungeons in the nick of time. In fact, it's doubtful that Moana would even make it to Arendelle considering how cold it can get while in the mountains. Elsa's abilities can be used in numerous ways, and she can trap her foes in an ice age without having to snap her fingers. So without the element of surprise, Moana's efforts would be muted by layers of snow and ice. Elsa would win the fight if it occurred on dry land, but how would she fare in Moana's world? How Moana would win. Moana doesn't have any special powers, but that doesn't make her a dull enemy. So while Elsa would probably have the upper hand in various situations, Moana's got a few tricks up her sleeve too. If Elsa really wanted to, she could try to freeze every single ocean in the world, but that could take years when taking the world's water supply into account. So if Elsa came to Motunui to fight Moana face to face, the ocean would come rushing in around her without much warning. Unfortunately for Elsa, if she was surrounded by the ocean, she would get submerged before she could make a snowflake fall from the sky. But that doesn't mean that she can't put up a fight. Elsa's powers can be used from afar. So stepping foot on Motunui sounds like a bad idea if she hopes to be the last one standing. All in all, freezing an entire ocean is impossible, especially since Elsa is prone to fainting when she exhausts her power source. The tie. Are we the only ones who hate ties? Well, we highly doubt it. After all, you're here to find out which Disney princess would conquer the other, but for argument's sake, let's give both of these Disney gems the benefit of the doubt. Moana and Elsa both have good hearts, which means that they wouldn't dare put others in danger for their own selfish reasons. So knowing this, all the other has to do is threaten the people they love to keep disaster at bay. Moana could send the ocean to flood Arendelle, therefore wiping it off the map like Atlantis. And Elsa could cause winter to become a predominant season on Motunui, causing Moana's people to perish from lack of food and warmth. So if it came to fighting dirty, both heroines would come out on top, which would lead them to put their differences aside and resume their everyday lives. Elsa versus Moana. So you're about to find out which Disney princess would trump the other, but before defending your favorite girl, we're going to lay out some ground rules. First of all, a fair fight consists of one-on-one combat, meaning that Elsa and Moana are about to go head-to-head without any sidekicks involved. Without Maui's help or the ocean's interference, all Moana has has is her strength and intelligence, which isn't enough to keep an ice queen at bay.
What? I said help me!
We speak for everyone when we say that Elsa would pulverize Moana with one single blow to the heart. Elsa's been known to freeze people's hearts by accident, so imagine if she tried to do this on purpose. All in all, Elsa's abilities are just too powerful to beat, which is why every single Disney princess would do good by staying on her good side.
I knew you could do it.
Hands down, this is the best day of my life.
Although Maui might stand a chance against her, she could probably freeze him out in a few seconds tops. Without the ocean's backing, Moana doesn't stand a chance. However, she could give Elsa a fair fight if her sidekicks were allowed to join her ranks. But even then, we're sure that Elsa would come up kicking. So there you have it, guys. Elsa's the winner. Before you go, let us know if you think that Elsa is the most powerful Disney princess of all. If you think otherwise, tell us who could beat her in the comments below. And that's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in to The Things, and see you next time.